play that. What's
I look at the Yankees and I go, there's no
Old leather gloves, we're slapping in hands. Popcorn and peanuts, we're working the stands. Pink cotton candy,
We're on the air.
love on
You
a
were pretty
stick.
able to-
Was chasing the beer.
This is our theme song, kid.
The circle
You
the
like it?
lips play
All right, now
ball.
share. Share the show.
Play ball. Load up the bases and smack it right over the wall. Play ball.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Laughter Saves Live.
Of the cow.
Live.
Oh, my goodness, the enthusiasm. Well, here on Strong Island TV in Paradise Studios in Massapequa, New York. Did we ever say Massapequa?
Yeah, we
No,
do.
we
Massapequa.
did not.
We
talk
We never
about the
said
diner all
Massapequa,
the
yeah.
time.
After the diner, we're going to the Massapequa Diner.
Never said
We're going to
Massapequa.
keep saying that until we get them to sponsor the freaking show.
They do. They
But
sponsor.
everybody was just saying how handsome I was, and I appreciate that, guys, before we got in the air.
We did. We
So
were saying
thanks
that.
very much.
We're gonna cut that right
That's a
now.
little creepy, but you know.
shit.
So we had a good week here. We have first of all, we have an abundance of talent up here and guys.
And
so
Pat.
A plethora.
we're going to try not to step on each other.
Gee.
Plus, we have a guest tonight, Jeanette Duderman. We're going to talk a little bit about Common Core and Jeanette's background in that. That's going to be interesting. Patty and I did a show on Friday night for the Williston Park Fire Department. It was a fun night. Here's the first picture. As you can see,
Chris Roach.
there is Steve Perillo, who did the show. There is Patty G. Do you see what Patty G. and Chris Roach was on the show. Now, if you look at that picture closely instead of looking at your freaking phone,
I'm sharing.
you'll see
Got to boost the viewership.
that Johnny L is also in that picture.
Where?
Up in the
There
corner.
you go. Look at my hands. You see that? You see Roach has two sets of arms.
Oh.
We did the old where I put my arms around him.
Oh,
right,
that
Patty?
old gag.
Yeah.
And Patty did a nice job. Nice crowd.
Very
right?
nice girl. Had about 100 people.
About 100 people. That was
That's a
a
nice
nice
firehouse. I did that with John
Second
last
year that we were there.
Yeah,
Uh,
great.
Pa-
What a great bunch of people too.
Yep,
Really great bunch.
Pat
of people.
That's a
MC
nice town, Willis.
Yeah, you're not used to that forming in front of a nice crowd.
No, no. And let me
I'm
tell
not
you
used-
something.
I'm not
Starting
used to
early.
having people at my shows anyway.
Pat,
Pat, you're starting early, huh?
Pat, Pat did the job. Patty G did the job that an MC should do. Get up there and let the other comics raise the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got up there, he did his thing, and then everybody else went up there and
Did
destroyed.
great. Yep.
And nobody remembered
Well,
Patty
people have a
G.
misconception
what's
that
coming
the
up?
host is not supposed to be funny,
I
blah,
see.
blah, blah, which
that-
a lot of us have adhere to that.
Yes.
But the fact is, the host is supposed to warm the crowd up. That's why we're
Yeah,
here. Like,
yeah.
like what you're doing right now. You're not that funny, but
No, I get you.
you're bringing us all together.
So happy
Right.
Steve Oliva is
So
back
nice
today.
job, Patty G, on the show Friday night.
Got the M&Ms.
That was
They're
fun.
off.
Then Saturday, no show. And then Sunday, we did the. Wait, we're holding off on the veterans because we're expecting Victoria to call in. So yesterday was a fun day. Did you do a show Saturday? Rick Morgan show?
Saturday.
Somebody show?
Saturday.
Long
I
Island
did,
Comedy Festival? What'd you do?
I did the
did a
Bayway
poll?
Arts Center.
Oh, you know, I got a bone to pick with you.
Well-
I got a bone to pick with you.
Holy shit.
How many times you said to me, if you put me on more shows, I wouldn't have to be pushing. Be honest. How many times have I asked you to do a show and you said I'm booked already? Be honest. In the last few months,
Couple.
3, 5.
That's a good sign.
Right?
That's a good
No,
sign.
I love that he's
He's
working.
waiting until he's 55 to get
All
on,
right,
one,
I
on a
was
show
trying to
soon.
get
you know.
back the harmony here with John being back after he got fired. We don't need to go.
No, John never got fired. Let's
sorry.
for the record, it was all in fun. John didn't get fired. And listen,
Yeah, I'm crying my
he
eyes
can
out
mention
now.
any Rick Morgan show, any Long Island Comedy Festival show. If comics are working in Long Island, I'm happy.
But I like the Laughter Saves Live shows the most.
Me too.
Because I get to work with him, especially if we go on a long car ride.
So obviously,
We have
Rick,
fun.
Those are always
obviously
have
Rick
fun.
Morgan doesn't watch this show, so you don't have to.
We're gonna have Rick
So you
No, I
don't
Morgan.
like
care.
his shows too.
We're gonna.
I like all the shows.
So
a lot.
Saturday, did you do any of you guys did a show on Saturday?
I did the Bayway Arts Center show with the Long Island Comedy Festival.
That was
The
a
50
nice
plus
show.
comedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a nice show.
50 plus.
50 plus. I went to college out there. So
How old are you?
we rounded up. And,
Rounded up? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
so
went to
that's
college
good.
where, John?
I went to Dowling College, which
Oh,
is
Dowling. I went to baseball camp there as a kid.
Yes, they
It's
had a
clo-
great baseball
I went to
team.
a deli
It's
right
closed.
down the
It's
block.
closed now,
Yeah.
right, Dowling?
Dowling,
Go to a hairstylist
unfortunately
there.
closed.
Nice
yes.
job. Nice job, Pat.
Yesterday.
John.
So that was good. So yesterday
Yesterday.
was a fun. I feel bad that you guys didn't experience what we experienced yesterday.
I would have loved it.
We're gonna
I
do
did the one with him in Northport a couple weeks ago.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the veteran show. I'm not talking about the
Oh, the
veteran
Met
show.
game?
The Met
I'm talking
game.
about the Met game. Let's get our first picture, Bobby. You can bring that picture over. We had such a good time sitting in the outfield, the M&M section. Just keep that first picture up there for a while, Bobby. We were in the M&M section.
Sweet seats.
Look at
Is
the
that what
size
they call
of
it?
Pat.
Sweet seats?
Look at the size of Pat Maroon's head.
All right, we can see the next picture, Bobby.
The guy on the left looks good,
This is
too.
Pat's brother, twin brother, Mr. Matt.
Does this guy have an
And
allergic? Does he
you
have
know
any
what's-
allergic
you know what's funny
reaction?
about
Johnny LaRocque was photobombing.
Tell the,
I was
guy,
photobombing.
tell the guy on the right to take Benadryl.
Pat basically had to tackle Mr. Met.
Tackle him.
Can we say what we paid for the tickets? You
Yes,
mind if I say that?
Yeah, I don't care.
We paid $140 a piece for these tickets to sit in the M&M section. All the food you want, burgers and hot dogs, some
And,
Cracker
and-
Jacks,
and
peanuts,
chicken, everything in the
chicken
song.
fingers, all right?
Cracker Jacks and peanuts, like
Look,
the
Right.
song.
looking at you guys, I'd never guess you'd want to sit in the a section named after candy.
Let me
Now,
tell you.
now we had an awesome
Let me
time.
tell you, we ate our money's worth.
We did.
We did.
We bankrupted the Wool Pond.
good.
And you know what?
I had to let my pants out when I got out of there. I mean, we
big
were.
drinkers.
How do
right?
you-
was stuffed.
No,
How do you-
I didn't have any alcohol.
How do you let the velour stretchy pants out, Pat? I thought they just
I didn't
stretched
wear-
on their
Can I
own.
just say we had an awesome time? But can I just say, as a
sound-
business person,
Yes.
as somebody that's involved in marketing and branding things,
Yes.
in the day job,
Talk about Mr. Met.
to sit on the M&M deck
Yes.
and not have M&Ms
What's
as
up with
one of the
that?
giveaway food items.
They
didn't
did
get
have
M&Ms?
cookies,
Said-
right?
But they did put them in the cookies,
In the
and that was
cookies.
my idea that
But
they should put
you
them at
should
least in
be
the
able
cookies.
to get every type
Cookie.
of M&M, the peanut, the plain, the caramel, the crisp,
One
all of
cookie.
them.
You're very.
One-
You're
That's
very
absurd.
per
They gave us
person.
Now we didn't drink beer. We shared the section with a bunch of
No,
firemen
but
from
the whole thing is-
136 truck. They drank a lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
beer.
they drank. The
They
Wolf
got
Pond's
their
out of
money's
business,
worth.
yes.
We wanted more cookies.
Well, Manny got his money's worth in hot dogs.
It
Yes.
wasn't just the cookie. It was that you should be able to get every M&M. You're on the M&M porch.
I'm
Yeah, I
surprised.
agree.
I'm guessing. Seriously, this is what I'm thinking.
Jeanette, it
maybe.
doesn't get much better than this. That's why we
They
have
don't-
You
you.
sure you want to stay or just
Jeanette,
That's what we have,
Jeanette,
Jeanette.
the first 10 minutes is dedicated to M&Ms.
To M&M's.
But
And
you know,
I-
I'm thinking maybe they're afraid people are going to launch the M&Ms onto the field.
No, there was some idiot.
no,
There was
there
some
was some
idiots
idiots
there
there, yeah.
when the girls when they do the
With the
shoot the
t-shirts,
shirts
they
up when
throw
they
the
shoot
hot
the
dog
shirts
box.
up. People were throwing hot dog boxes. up.
Wait,
You
typical.
can get thrown out for that. You
But
can't
wait,
throw anything
what
onto
about
the
the
field.
car? Typical fireman. They bring out some. What kind of car was that? I don't know.
Mustang.
Mustang,
Mustang,
right? And they're asking him questions. They're showing on a big screen, right? He's got to get 3 questions before Chris's wife with a prize, right? So he answers the first question, right? All his guys are leaning over the fence now. All the guys from his company. Answers the second question. Right, they're flipping him the bird. You suck. You know.
Let me tell you something.
Thank God the camera was off of him because then he's over back at them and he's going right here. You know? And I'm like, oh.
Firemen are the best
Camera B,
people
camera
and
B.
the worst people.
Yes, you're right about that.
They totally are.
Firemen
Yeah.
are
And
great people, but they put them
Wait,
together and things
tell 'em-
happen.
Hey,
Tell
Bobby,
tell him about Mr. Met, how we
Yes,
flew
I was
through
going to
there
say that.
at
Hold on.
20 miles
Bobby,
an hour.
we might be getting a call around now from Victoria from St. Albans. So if you can open up the phone lines and then...
Mr. Met was busy. He apparently only
Again,
had on the high five.
listen
Look
to
at
this.
this. You don't think I want to take a picture with Mr. Met? I got the damn patch.
LaRocque got it. He
$140.
photobombed it.
$140, and the girl comes walking through with Mr. Met. In that
Fast.
section. Fast.
Like,
So I said,
fast.
oh, we want to take a picture. She goes, oh, no, we got to get upstairs. There's people waiting. I go, what are you teasing us for?
Let them wait. We're big.
I didn't let him get
Hey,
past me.
Chooch.
I didn't let him get past me.
Patty stopped him. We're big chooches and we want a
And the other
picture.
thing, the players were throwing
Hold on,
the ball.
Patty G wants to say something.
Jeanette, you're next.
Patty, we're not talking about pinatas tonight, so that we can't.
Jeanette-
No, it just sounds like you brain surgeons didn't get $140 worth of goods and services.
No, we did.
Oh, we
But
did.
What bothers me is
I
the
had
players.
hot dogs,
peanuts, I had-
hamburgers,
We got,
chicken
I got
fingers,
2 balls. How many balls
2
did you get?
pretzels, 2 cookies. I got 2 cookies.
Did you get a ball?
I'm sick
Cracker
thinking
Jack.
about
How
it.
did you get 2 cookies? I didn't.
I
get
got 2. I
cookies.
took them out of it. The guy said, "You want another one?" I said, "Sure, I'll have another one."
Only you. Only you.
But
So it
the
was a fun
players
night.
should not be throwing the ball to the kids in the cheap seats. We paid a lot of money. They should be throwing them to us.
Yeah, but I would have gave them to kids anyway.
No, I wouldn't.
Well,
All right,
I
enough on the
Nobody
Met
gave me
game.
a ball when I was a kid.
Good time was had by all. Laughter Saves Lives are going to sponsor a Met game on a Monday night tailgate. Cheap seats. We're going to
No,
have
no,
a
no,
ball.
no, no. You said we're going Delta Platinum.
No, we're not going.
Where we sat the last
And
time.
listen,
Whatever.
the moral of this whole last, 11 minutes?
There is a moral.
is there's 3 and possibly more grown men, okay, over middle age, that were fighting to get M&Ms and meet Mr. Met.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that?
You know what?
Because we're all
That was
kids
the
in the
night,
ballpark.
and you got to see him going after the foul balls. He was like a nut up there. Manny was
He had
crazy.
the glove on. Manny
I
was
had
like,
a ball
Manny was like a
caught.
Manny
bull,
got
bull chasing.
And
knocking-
Tugboat Manny, all 300 plus pounds of him, hit me like, what did you say, a water buffalo?
Yeah, it was like.
And even though I didn't catch the ball, it was worth it to see him fall on
And
top.
where did
I'll
the
tell
ball-
you. I tell you.
where did
Dick,
that ball end
Dick
up?
Butkus had nothing on Manny last
Manny.
night.
Yeah,
Hit me in the head.
it's amazing.
That ball hit you in the head?
Ball hit me in the head because you didn't catch it. Hit off
I
the
didn't
glove.
catch it.
I
How do you
turned.
catch it when a 400-pound water buffalo is throwing your glove out of the way?
All right, so
He
that
just
was the
gained
Met
50
game.
pounds.
That was the Mets game. Let's
That's the
close
Mets
that
game.
chapter.
Okay.
Let's
we
go.
did- we did
Let's
have
go
a
to
good
Patty's
time.
movie.
We should end
Let's go to Patty's shoot.
You were in a movie?
Yeah, well, I'm filming. We're currently filming for a movie, Good Friday. It's a Saranella film. It's a mob comedy. I play a mob boss.
No.
Don Basil.
There's a stretch.
And
Don Basil!
yeah, and it's about the feast, and there's a priest involved. There's a couple of priests involved.
I guess the writers
And
aren't too good. Huh?
Saranella plays Father Bello, and that's me next to the priest. And you know, I was in a Bronxdale years ago, so it was like almost like a reunion. 2 guys were from Bronxdale, and
Were you in
Which
the
two
Bronx
guys-
still?
yeah, I was
You was
in,
in a
I was,
Bronxdale.
I was an extra in a
Because
Bronx.
he posted every other day on Facebook.
Yeah.
Folks, since the inception of this show,
But anyway, wait a minute. Sal Marinara, Louis Vanaria,
Holy crap.
who played Crazy Mario in the Bronxdale, sitting up in the front there.
Who's he in the...
He's right next to me in the white shirt there, on the bottom
What
line.
part did he play?
He came with the big nose.
That's a great picture. That's a
he was
great-
good in the Bronx.
So that's
too.
the whole. That's
Wait.
my crew.
You know what I
My
loved
crew
about
there.
his part in the Bronx Tale? He had speaking lines,
Who did
unlike
he
yours.
play?
Jeanette, you see the Bronx still?
He played Crazy Mario in the
No.
Bronxdale.
Probably she didn't
And then
see
my
the
other
Bronx
friend
Tale.
Anthony
She never
Avini.
saw the Bronx Tale.
What were you in the Bronx
She's
Tale, Pat?
educated. She's educated. You think she's watching the
Got
Bronx Tale?
class. She's not watching that kind of
She's
stuff.
watching like the business channels and stuff. She's not gonna watch a bunch of Gavone.
She
Maria
looks like one of those
Bartiromo
people that
and that
doesn't
shit.
know movie lines, I could tell.
But anyway, it's gonna be a fun movie. It's a comedy, and you know that's it.
What'd you play in Bronx Tale, Pat? A Sicilian mannequin?
No, I was. I,
He had a
was
big
I
part.
worked 10 days on the Bronx, but I'm playing a guy shooting pool in the background. of one of the
I
scenes.
freeze frame it every time to see
You know,
him.
you're supposed to be doing social media.
Okay.
Did I ever tell you I was
didn't
on?
tell me. You told me
I ever
about
tell you I was
your
on the show Rescue Me for 7 years without
You were
dropping?
on
Yes.
No,
I
you know we
forgot
like.
every
we-
year.
You know,
7 years.
you know, I was happy that you were back. I think we like it better when you were home.
You know, that's mean, Pat. It's okay for you to be mean to
Social
people.
media, yeah.
Why don't you go get Mr. Met in a headlock for
Wait
a
a
red
second, wait a
M&M?
second. Stop the press.
Go get
What?
Mr. Met in a
Hold on,
headlock.
hold on.
Somebody saw us on TV in the M&M section at the Mets game.
Oh, that's
Hey, Jack.
embarrassing.
Nancy, can you tell me what inning? Because I recorded the game.
That was embarrassing.
so I could get a screenshot of it from my home.
Do you really,
I record
really
every
care?
Met game.
Really care?
If we're on TV at a Met game,
Who
you don't
cares?
care?
The way we looked yesterday, I don't want anybody
looked
to see
fantastic.
us.
I actually saw you on TV. You had a 3-year-old kid in a headlock. And
Yep.
You could see yourself
You-
on
you're
Facebook
taking his
Live. What do you
M&M
need to be
swing.
on TV? We
All
got
right,
Facebook
let's
Live.
blow off the Met game here because Victoria didn't call yet. Let's bring up the veteran show from Sunday.
Victoria,
So,
another one of your educated callers that call in at the right time.
she's a social worker from the hospital, does wonderful work, and you just
Oh, she's writing me back.
you just said something really nasty about her.
That's a lovely group.
Let me just talk about the veteran show because it never freaking Chooch. Look at it. That's a Chooch. Look at him. Beautiful woman, violent at the helm, and he puts her down. Each month, Laughter Saves Lives goes to the Veterans Hospital in St. Albans. We had the Langer family, Dino Langer and hubby, donated the fruit and came and served them. I have to give some credit. Paula also came, and Olivia, my daughter and my wife. We had some family members there, as you can see. It was a really nice night. But one of the most touching moments of this whole thing, Paul Bond
Yeah, he's
was
great.
there. Paul Bond gave the A show. He doesn't care. I mean, these guys can't respond well. Paul gave it all. Steve Perillo did all his death jokes to all the 80-year-old guys. It was, but
Paul's great.
no, but the fact that you treated them, they're people.
yes,
They're people.
yes, and I mean that guy in the middle. God bless him. Look at the smile on his face. He just lit up the room. And the guy in the bottom right.
I remember
Okay,
him.
he's been there forever.
Yes.
This man, he talks like this and he moves like this. He cannot wheel that wheelchair faster than, I don't know what, it takes probably an hour and a half to get back to his room. He does not want help. He does not want to be pushed. John, I got it, Unbelievable.
I remember
They
him.
still
Is
have
the
that.
FU guy still there?
Who? No.
Guy kept yelling out "F you" during the
No,
show.
only to you he did that.
Matt Marone?
Now,
I-
let me just tell you
I
something about
wasn't-
Olivia Lynn, my daughter. Before we do a commercial, we'll bring Jeanette on. There was one of the gentlemen who was very interested in having some fruit. Could not. He was too shaky. Didn't speak real well, but Olivia stood there for a half hour and fed him. And
Yeah,
it was
good
just
kid,
a
good
moving.
kid.
I didn't even know she was doing that. My wife goes, look.
She takes after her father.
She's such a sweetie. She was just watching the show, and you know, they really bonded. And guys, if you've never been to the show as a volunteer, you could ask Dina, who came for the first time. We really could use your help pushing these guys down from the rooms and chatting with them. They love to tell their story. It was a great afternoon. Thank you, Steve Perillo, who filled in for you. You couldn't make it. Last minute,
Steve Perillo at a veteran show.
Hey, he showed up and he did the job. He did
the
the job.
He didn't talk him off
Oh,
a ledge.
here's the funny part. What does Steve Perillo wear? He came in there looking like he had his trench coat on.
Yeah.
He had the same outfit on that the shooter had, the Texas shooting the other
Yeah.
day. It's exactly what he was wearing.
I
but
said he
that's-
didn't talk
that's
him off a
his-
ledge.
That's his thing.
I'm surprised he didn't get tackled going in by the security guard.
Steve Perillo's a great kid.
He is.
Yes.
All right, so let's do this. Let's show the Life Act commercial.
Alright.
Let's get Jeanette up here. We're going to move down a seat. And Jeanette, no, you move down one seat. Get Jeanette over here. All right? And then we'll be back with Jeanette Dudeman, and we'll talk a little bit about Common Core.
Common Core.
When someone is choking, brain damage can occur after just 4 minutes. Did you know every 5 days a child dies because of a choking accident?
My name is Art Lee. I invented LifeVac to protect my family. LifeVac is an easy-to-use suction device with a special one-way valve to help save a choking victim.
I care for my dad, who's prone to choking. Having LifeVac in my home gives me peace of mind.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
Call 1-877-LifeVac or visit lifevac.net.
Highways.
We're live. We're back on the air.
Back on the air, Laughter Saves Lives Live, Strong Island TV and Radio, Paradise Studios in Massapequa,
Don't tell them where
New
the
York.
studio is.
What's that?
My groupies will be all over the place when we leave.
I'm not concerned.
Me neither.
We have Jeanette Dudeman who just joined us. We're going to talk a little bit to Jeanette about Common Core and her background in that. But Jeanette is my neighbor.
I'm sorry.
And has the
Just-
luxury of watching John mow the lawn in
In his underwear.
his underwear.
My
And she's
my Speedo. And just throwing that out there, all the comedians in Long Island probably have about 50 lines for her when I say Jeanette is my neighbor, this poor woman. I have done a lot of her shoveling over the years.
Yes,
Yes.
he is. And
Taking
takes
in the
my
garbage pails. I'm a good
yes,
neighbor.
You are.
Good neighbor. So, and Jeanette is a good neighbor.
John Allstate.
And what's so interesting about this is we're neighbors and we know each other.
State Farm.
Jeanette doesn't know my you came to one of my shows, I think, once.
Yes,
didn't
I
you?
did.
And you
Comedy.
never went back?
One.
And then one
One
back.
show.
And Jeanette is my neighbor. But I know that Jeanette was very involved with this Common Core stuff. And she spends a lot of time. Or do you still spend a lot of time on this? But let's talk about, in general, number one, what is your background? Where did you go to school and all that stuff?
I went to SUNY Brockport.
For?
State. I was actually graduated with a rec therapy degree.
What therapy?
Recreation therapy.
Recreation.
Gym teacher.
Actually, it's.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
We have
it
a
mixes
guest.
in with some.
Yeah,
of
she
that.
was trying to make it sound a little nicer,
I'm
and you
being
go
silly.
gym teacher.
Let
We
it
have a
so-
recreation therapist at our place. They're a very important part of the place.
I
Thank you,
apologize.
Thank you.
Jeanette, I'm a dumb fireman. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Steve hasn't been here for a few weeks. and
Right.
He won't be
I'm
back
pent
for a few
up.
more weeks. He just-
And then I was also teaching. Actually, when
What?
I was living down in Maryland, then I lived down in North Carolina. And then when I moved back to Long Island, I was teaching at EAC. They don't have the school anymore.
What's EAC?
Education Assistance Corporation.
Okay.
And it was a specialized high school, and for kids who were struggling in their regular public schools. And so we had a program there.
When you
I
say
was
struggling,
doing
is it kids that were getting into trouble or kids that
both.
weren't?
Kids that were getting in trouble, kids that had
think Pat went to
issues
one of those
with
schools, didn't he?
things. They
Kids
had,
that do comedy, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Future
exactly.
comedians,
Yeah,
probably.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Like us.
Okay, so
Anyway.
you did all that, And then when did you give up the teaching? When you started having children?
Yes. And then when it was actually having kids and having them start in their schools, and also I come from a teaching family. So I have, my father was a teacher, my sister's a teacher at the public school right next door to us.
Didn't my kids have her?
Yes.
Or what did she teach?
She's a special ed teacher, but she's in collaborative, so she teaches also
Did
in,
your
in regular
Your
classrooms.
family always taught in the island, on the
Yeah,
island mostly?
yeah. My father was a teacher, a physics teacher at Seaford High School.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and my other sister's a school psychologist at Beth Page. So I,
amazing.
you know, aunts, uncles, big
sure.
teaching. So I've been around education and the teaching profession for a very long time.
Okay, so your kids started school.
Kids started school.
And this is where you came in contact with this
is where
Common
this all-
Core.
yes, that's right.
All right.
So,
When was that?
okay, so my
set up the
son
timeline.
now is in 9th grade.
Okay.
So when he was in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, things seemed very, seemed fine. Everything seemed normal.
And then?
Then all of a sudden, 3rd grade hit, and that was the year that the testing changed. The Common Core curriculum came in, and the teacher evaluation system came
Now,
in.
was that a huge change from
Yes.
the year before? Like, I mean,
Yes.
just to backtrack a little bit, I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but I'm obviously older than you, okay?
You're older than
And
everybody here.
Not by much.
You
Captain
said that the
Obvious.
comedy- you
Captain
said that the
Obvious
comedy
again,
show-
All right. So I'm
He's going to
older.
be 60 this year, right?
I'm older than you. I said to Paul Anthony today, he put me on the 50 and Over show, and I go, all right, I'm not 50 yet. And he actually responded. He goes, well, we use comics a little younger, and I said to him, I love you. I love you. All right, so when we were kids, and when you were a kid, there were some standardized tests.
Right.
SATs.
What was it called? Was it SARs or something also?
SATs, high school. There was a lot of high school tests.
But there were
There was
tests
a region.
in elementary school too.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But do you remember them as being the focus of your year and the focus of your whole elementary
no.
school?
Can we
Definitely
backtrack?
not.
Can we backtrack 1 second? Would you
Yeah.
please explain to me and everybody else what is the Common
No,
Core?
we're getting to that in a second.
you are?
We're
Okay.
getting to that. What I'm trying to say is, we always had some standardized test out there.
Yes.
And I remember, I'm glad you said that. I kind of remembered it, and it was interesting that you just said what you said, but did you remember it like taking over your life and changing? No, I remembered like, looking at the grades, we're like, I was in the top, whatever, and I did good, but I didn't remember it being a pressuring thing.
But that was the Regents
Right.
and the
no,
SAT.
no.
Most
No,
people
wasn't the
barely remember
No, but
elementary
in
school.
elementary
There was some
school, I
other
think he's
tests.
talking about some of the aptitude tests
Yes.
that we
And
Yes.
those, they were
Yes.
IQ
Remember?
tests.
took. You remember
Yeah,
the ones
so
that
I
you
think
failed?
You used to have to fill in the
Iowa,
boxes with
All the
your
ones that
Exactly.
you
They were
probably
like,
failed us. You don't
Exactly.
remember.
Reading comprehension, I recall.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Do you want to be a fireman when you get older type thing?
Right.
Remember?
All right,
Trying
so
to
let's
make
get
you
back
do
to Common
more
Core
glitter
now.
and grammar.
So
Right,
what
I wanna do good as
what
good
is
as
the
I can.
what is the core of Common Core? What were they trying to do here?
Well, first of all, it was an experiment. And now we see that it's a failed experiment. And pretty much even the people responsible for rolling out Common Core have basically admitted to the fact that this didn't work.
Yeah, but how many years was it in place?
It was in place for 5 years.
And when did it start?
It started 2013 is when it rolled out.
2013
Right.
until...
Yeah, and it took a little while to infiltrate fully into the classrooms because, we had curriculum and it cost money for curriculum. So now suddenly here's this entirely, and this isn't just, we've had new programs over the years, they'll do, phonics programs and such, but it doesn't take the entire reworking of the whole curriculum top to bottom. This is a whole different math. And anybody who is a parent of a young child right now knows that you look at like 3rd grade math and it's like reading
I
Chinese.
just watched the video today.
But here's the problem.
I watched the
with this.
video of Common Core math, and you're right. I'm like, what the freak?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but there's a bigger problem here because what is 5 years? People say, okay, it's only a 5-year experiment.
Yeah, that's an entire
That's an
child's.
entire
yes.
child's elementary
Yes.
school.
Right,
Yeah.
you're doing an
Because these
experiment
idiots
on a kid's
experimented.
developmental.
No, but the kid only has
years.
one shot and they blew it.
Right.
with
now is
this
it still in
stupid
place,
thing.
Common
Right.
Core? Is
Well,
it still in place?
okay.
Yes, it is still in place. What states have now done, including New York State, is because the word Common Core now is so toxic that they did not. Part of it is funding, and we recognize that true. If we were to scrap Common Core and go back to something different or start something all completely new, you're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars across the whole country, which public education has been stripped of funding. Where are you going to get that money to now revamp?
And that was
the
a national
curriculum
thing,
again?
Common Core.
This was a national thing.
Is the
What
Common
was the? Go ahead, Stevie. I'm sorry.
So go ahead.
What was the catalyst or the initiative to do Common Core? What said, hey, we better try this? Was it failing grades, kids not measuring up? What was the impetus, so to speak?
Well, the very start of it was a report that came out during, I believe it was the Reagan era, and it was Nation at Risk. Okay, and it talked about, and actually they now know that all the data that came out of that report was completely flawed. But it was sort of the basis of, and then when Bush,
Who did that study?
that was under Reagan, that was some
Department of Education.
Yeah, it was some kind of study that
Back
I don't
in
know
the
who
80s.
commissioned it. Yes.
Okay.
Once that came out, then from there we saw both parties sort of take this up and run with it. That it also turned into the core issue here is privatizing. There was a market to be had. So education was sort of the last market that hadn't been tapped into, that hadn't been hadn't seen profit from it. And the only way that you can profit off public education is if you privatize. So this whole push to privatize, again,
Publishers.
well, and actually the schools themselves,
And the
turning them
schools.
into charter schools.
Right.
So this
Yeah.
privatizing effort, you can't close a public school and turn it into a charter unless you can prove it's failing. How do you prove it's failing? You need a system in place where you can measure across the whole board.
Okay.
So now we have this across-the-board measurement of the original intention was to have every single state give the exact same test. Every school, every state, every kid. So, but that in face value, you say, okay, sure, everybody takes the same test and we can see where everyone's at.
And then I also read a little bit about, well, if there's kids moving around the country, they wouldn't be lost because they're all teaching and testing the same
Sure,
things.
but the percentage of kids that move around is like
Yes.
minuscule.
No,
Common
you're right,
Core
you're
was
right.
going to address this.
That's what
Right,
the
okay.
initial intention
Initial,
was.
okay.
But if you think about what it means to test these students, so first of all, you have to think about, what is a good test? A test is supposed to be diagnostic, especially for the younger grades. We're not talking about SATs, we're not talking
Right.
about entrance exams into college. We're talking about elementary school kids, and
That's a good question.
and the elementary school kids, it's supposed to be a diagnostic test to inform the teacher and inform the parents as to where this child is at, what they need, what could benefit them educationally. Instead, these assessments are not diagnostic in any way. They are meant to identify failure and then punish failure. And that was the problem, is that, and I've had the argument that, well, how else are we going to know when a school is failing? Well, first of all, we usually already know
Don't
which
you have
schools
other
are
metrics like
failing.
high school graduation rates, literacy rates?
That's right.
College
The other
success?
thing is, if you look at the rates of for testing and scores, they go exactly the same as socioeconomic status.
Right.
So we're talking about something, and I always describe it as what we keep doing is taking the temperature of these schools, of the kids, of the district, and yet if we see a fever there, we're not treating it. We just take the temperature again and
Right,
take it again
right.
and take
Let
it
me-
again, and we're not putting
And that's why the
anything in
kids aren't
place.
good at math and science.
That's right.
Let me just
We'll
read
put
this
the
one
Band-Aid
second,
on the
guys.
symptom.
Yeah.
Let me just read this 1 second because it touched on what she was saying. It is, but isn't the Common Core about testing? It says here. It says it is, but part of it took a while longer to materialize. In 2010, the U.S. Department of Education awarded $360 million to two groups of states. The Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, do you hear them? And the Partnership for Assessment for Readiness for College. And that's what I read, that part of this was they felt it would better prepare them for college.
Right.
And the results of that, in your opinion, are?
Failure, total
Fail-
failure. This is
Where,
not-
where's the United States in math and science relative
Okay,
to other
so
industrialized
that's
countries?
the other argument that they say, we're falling behind these other countries and all. Okay, first of all, we're being compared against countries that have a completely uniform, socioeconomic levels, uniform, backgrounds. We're talking about.
There's other variables involved.
They have in other countries. It's everyone's the same, pretty much. When you're talking about the United States, first of all, we have a 25% child poverty rate, and we test all children. There's other countries where they only have kids tested and only have kids in certain countries that are in these programs that are a certain level,
What
and the
if you
rest
took-
of them get filtered
What if
out.
what if you filtered out that data and focused
then,
on the
then
upper
we're up
75?
near the top. Then we're up near the top. So that's the problem, is that you're talking about, for us, we educate everyone, and we don't, separate our kids into two different groups, and we are not homogeneous. So that
Pat is, though,
completely
but I mean, that's something
skews.
different.
Hey,
No, that's homosexual.
only on weekends.
Homogeneous.
you,
Everyone's
Captain
like
Obvious.
Finland. Everyone's like the same background. Everyone has the same socioeconomic. They're not. You don't have these wild, discrepancies between one group and another group.
What do you mean by groups? You're talking
So
about
you don't have extreme
socioeconomic?
poverty. You don't have
Socioeconomic.
extreme rich. You
Yes,
don't have
and yes.
Oh,
and-
everybody's
Very
Right.
similar.
Now,
Very
one of the
similar.
things I read about Common Core is you need strong influence also from the parents to assist them in this.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and what you're
Yep,
saying,
yep.
we have a lot of
It's-
single parents in this country.
Yes.
It
You know,
is-
people can't have, so these kids are going to be even more at a deficit because they're not getting. I got to be
Common-
honest, I can't remember the last time I helped, well, my daughter's a senior now,
Right.
but with homework. That
I had.
they
no,
never.
it-
Let me
It's
ask you this,
discriminatory.
We have
What
some of
about
your
kids
callers
that
coming in
don't
saying
have
how
English
ridiculous
as
it is,
a
the
first
Common
language?
Core
Yep.
and stuff.
So they have.
is there any
take the
defenders
test.
of the
Wait,
Common
let-
Core?
let-
Nancy
I'm sorry.
Ness-Radica said it's so hard for the children to learn it one way and then had them learn another way. It's
Yeah.
Well,
ridiculous.
there are some children that had to do that, right? That
Well,
had
so my son, my older son,
Right.
he was one of the worst hit that year because they had already gotten through their foundation years from K through 3, and then all of a sudden 4th grade,
Wow.
they switched it all. Now
switched
instead of
it, yeah.
phasing it in like you would normally do for a
Right.
program,
Right.
if you really care about these
Right.
kids and what they're learning,
Right.
you would phase it in starting in kindergarten, and each year
Right.
you'd phase it in. Instead,
Right.
they just shoved it on every
Yes,
single
which
grade.
is
now they had a.
So now
gotta switch
you
his
are
whole
missing the
mindset.
whole
Yep.
foundational piece of this,
Right,
and
'cause you're
having to
starting at
just
fifth.
jump in at 4th and 5th grade math
That's
Now,
right.
in a
is this-
totally different.
Patty, can I
Now,
just
what
add
about
something?
kids that don't have English as a first language?
Yeah, and those kids are tested the same as all
Right,
the other
and
kids.
they may have been newly arrived immigrants that
That's
don't
right.
speak English.
And can you imagine what that psychologically does to this
Sure.
whole cohort of kids that now suddenly have to come into the country, learn the
Yep.
language, and within a year sit for
But
9-hour
there's
tests?
There's a big issue at work there because we don't have necessarily as many kids that can fill those math and science jobs. They're letting people in from other countries on the H-1B, whatever,
Yep.
and they're paying them less. And that's why the wages have not gone up in the economy because the companies, they need the sponsorship to stay here. So the companies take advantage of them and pay them less than they would an American worker
You know,
to fill
that's
that same
interesting.
job.
Yeah.
That's probably why. Not that I'm bragging about my daughter again, but I'm going to. She's going to Binghamton because she was in the top 10% of her class and is going into the sciences. She got a scholarship.
This is a
No
shortage of
tuition.
people
Yeah,
going
I
to
guess that's
those.
why.
Yeah.
That's what it
Well,
is.
let me tell you, there is an entire generation right now of kids that hate math, that will
to
never go
love
into
math.
math,
Yeah.
that hate it. They feel they're
Oh.
failures at math. They have now gotten it into their head that they are just terrible at
Jeanette.
math.
Can I just make a good point? A caller, I mean, a writer in here. This is written by Pat Marone. He said they take me off the screen when educated people come on the show. Pat Marone
Don't
wrote
take
wrote
it personally.
He's right here.
Can I say this?
That was
If it
good
wasn't,
point, very good point, Pat.
if it wasn't for math, Pat would not know how many sausages in a link.
Right.
Math was the only thing I was actually good at in
Yeah.
I
school.
liked man.
I like that
like
too.
that.
Jeanette, are you,
Everything else I
Well,
goofed
go ahead,
on.
Patty. You wanted to make a point now.
It's tough to lay odds.
That's why I'm on Laughter Saves Lives Live, because
Pat,
I really
it's tough.
didn't
It's
function.
tough to give odds on a horse race if you don't know math. You know.
Right.
Go ahead, Patty. Patty G. Patty G.
is the controversy over this attributed to the upswing in homeschooling? Is it
Oh, you mean
spilling
is the
over?
homeschooling
Right, a parent
result?
saying, is this
There are more homeschoolers
Right.
due to this
Is
because
it
if
because of
parents
some of
feel
this?
like,
Yeah,
parents
but
feel
don't they
like
still
this
have
is
to
the
take
only
tests?
solution.
Homeschoolers? The same tests?
No, they can opt out. Anyone can opt out.
Oh, that's right. You
so
can opt
opting out? Opting
right.
out
Right.
is
That's
opting
What about
out.
history? Was history
No, we
included
opted
in
out.
this?
No.
So
No.
what was?
So now what has happened to science
subjects
and
were
social
there?
studies in elementary school is the majority of schools, actually most schools that I work with districts all over Long Island and New York State. I've never found a district that equally puts weight on social studies and science. So the typical elementary school now does like 2 blocks of math a day, 2 blocks of ELA a day, and science every other day. social studies every other day.
Gym every third day.
Oh yeah, gym phys ed is no one's meeting those mandates.
So opting out is still going to school, but not in that
Not
curriculum,
taking
or opting out is homeschooling?
You can't opt out of the curriculum, unfortunately, but
Okay.
it's opting out of the state assessments. And sort of.
That's what
And the reason for
okay.
that opting out is to reduce
Is-
the stress of the kids? Or?
It's a whole bunch of things. The number one
Yes.
for me was for my kids, I'm not going to let them sit and take a 10-hour test. That means nothing to them. It doesn't improve their education. It actually is detrimental for them.
I see, okay.
It actually reinforces this whole system that is in place right now. I always say, if you want to fix a problem, stop participating in it.
Right.
And that's really what
How
it comes
many,
down
what's the
to.
percentage now, Jeanette, that you would say opt out of the test?
We don't have the figures for this year. Last year and the year before that, for the last 3 years, it's been about 20%.
But Jeanette,
It's
what
not
happens-
growing? It's the same?
It's been about 20% for.
Are you surprised it's
three-
not more?
No,
You're not?
I actually am shocked that it's that much.
Really?
Yeah, what are the consequences of opting out of the test,
Nothing.
though?
There's no consequence. So it's
Yeah, but the teachers are
Can I-
still teaching to the test.
Can I
Right.
make
So-
an observation I've seen
Yeah.
with the millennial generation is that I've seen that they can't think fast, like on their feet. They don't have.
They don't have to.
No, but the problem
Well-
is this. I was flying with a guy who was a millennial, and he was used to the plane showing everything, the distances in feet.
millennial.
Right? And on the older airplanes, it's in decimals, 0.5. He's like, could you give that to me in feet? I'm like, dude, it's 0.5 nautical miles, so 6,000 feet in a nautical mile.
Could this be
3,000
somebody
feet.
flying my Delta, my next Delta
Yeah.
flight? So why are you telling me this?
Because
Well, I don't need to know
we're not
this.
raising a generation. I mean, like,
Well, stop
Well, that's a
flying.
whole different-
Stop flying
because
around
you know
with
what the problem
millennials.
is with this is that they get on the GPS and they fire it up and they get lost because they don't have any strategic thing.
course.
Right,
I'm
of course.
heading west. If the GPS told you to go east and you were going to Los Angeles from New York, you'd question it. But they don't. They just follow the technology blind.
Well, you know your pilot's a millennial when he's got a
well, hold on
hoodie
a
and a
second.
pair of Chuck Taylors on.
But these millennials were not part of the
Taylors,
core curriculum.
Right,
They're
that's-
already advanced.
Hold on, Chuck Taylors. I got it.
Chuck Taylor.
Chuck
I
Taylors.
said it. How do you know your pilot's a
Pat,
millennial?
you know what Chuck Taylors are?
Yeah,
What's
they're the
Chuck
kids.
Taylor?
They're the Converse.
Yeah.
Converse.
are regular.
Converse.
Chuck
Oh,
Taylor.
sneakers.
Converse
Chuck
Gambit
Taylors
things.
with a common core of sneakers in the
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah. Or Pro Kids and
Okay,
all
so
those
they
decks.
have to- I didn't know-
Adidas, Puma.
Jeanette-
Do you find that same thing that they can't think like we were trained to think? That
Well,
they
actually,
can't?
I find that in kids that are in school right now because of the curriculum being so geared towards the test. So
Right.
instead of it being where they just happen to sit for this test at some point in the year, now the whole year, all the work they're doing, everything, they have to prepare them for these assessments because these assessments are such a big deal now that what it does is it takes away that collaborative learning, it takes
Right.
away all the hands-on learning.
And the teachers are assessed on those tests?
They were. So now what we did through and that's also another benefit of the opt-out movement, is it's not just about, it is about, protecting these kids from the actual test itself and fighting back against the curriculum, but it also is an agent for change. So because of the opt-out movement and because of our numbers being where they are, people like myself who lead the movement have been able to really get a seat at the table and be part of legislative actions, be part of all the different policy making boards, and really have a stronger voice in being able to push for certain things to change. So one of the things that changed was the evaluation system. We had a moratorium put in.
So you made some changes
Yeah.
at that level.
Years ago, this is the beauty of this. Years ago, somebody like you're a smart person, mom got involved. I don't think they would, let's say 50 years ago, you would never be on a committee to make changes. There's something to be said for that, though, that you've had an influence in this.
Do you think,
And you should be very proud of yourself. You know what I mean? No, I mean that. I mean
Yeah,
that
no,
because there are
it's-
many parents. Like I said, I would like to get more involved in things, but I do my thing.
Sounds like
we
he
do
wants to
things.
pay you for the shoveling.
No. No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that because of parents like this who care, who give a damn.
Sure.
Of
You
course.
know, changes can be made, and I don't. I'm going back to 9/11. I know Monica Icon that we met in the city. September's Missions. She had a lot to do with what went on down there with the memorial, and all she was a wife who lost her husband from one of the financial
And
firms.
she became a leader.
But she fought, and she sat at the table.
Yeah.
So, listen, women like that,
Jeanette, how much
it's really great.
in your I'm sure that it helped you putting it together is social media. As
Oh,
far as-
social media was the only way we could have done
Right.
this.
So he's
Yeah,
saying,
this-
you know, that's a big change.
This
in how you can
this
get-
whole movement was not capable, was not possible unless we had Facebook
That-
and
that is a-
Twitter and all
I'm sorry,
that.
Steve.
So.
That's a
question
big
from the-
change.
It
from,
is.
No,
Huge.
it's not.
Huge
It's
change.
not a question. Nancy
Whatever.
Nesradica, she says, my daughter opts out. My granddaughter, who is special ed, seriously, she is has reading issues, but they will not have a proctor. So you are going to frustrate the child for 5 hours. For what reason?
I think Pat has.
All right, now I want to play devil's
No, I do have
advocate.
reading issues. I
I'm
do.
kidding.
I do. I really do have.
Don't say I do. Just let the joke flow.
Clearly, you opted out 9th to 12th grade, Pat.
Now, Jeanette, suppose a student. Let's
No,
look at the other
no.
side.
Nancy has writing issues if you look at the way it's written. But I
Who's
do.
Nancy?
Nancy Nesradica. She won a prize on our show once
That's
before.
right.
And she never
She's a
showed up.
regular
She never
viewer.
got them. She's a regular viewer, and she has some stuff, and people are chatting back and forth with her.
Before we forget,
Yeah.
October 19th is going to be the Virginia LaRocchia Laughter Saves Lives Almost Gala. We're going back to the Tank Museum in Bethpage. If you want to help out, if you want to come, if you want to be a sponsor, we're going to start pushing it next week.
No.
And Common
We'll help
Core
out.
Yes.
and Common Core will not be involved in that show.
That's right.
Now,
That's
suppose
right.
a student.
Jeanette will be there,
does-
but Common Core will not be there.
Suppose a student does
Only-
well with the
only
Common
in the
Core
gym.
and passes or whatever. What benefit or what happens from that point?
Oh, that's a good
Okay.
question. Yeah,
Is
well,
that
the other
something
side-
colleges look at? Do
No.
colleges
Is the
look at that?
child put in better
No.
classes as they get older? What? I mean, suppose somebody does do well.
So another thing that we sort of fought for and won was also a law that passed saying that that state assessments cannot be a sole determining factor for placement. So that means that if a child does take the test and they do well, and the school has every right to use those results to put them into whatever programs. However, a student that opts out, they have to use other measures.
Right,
They-
okay.
So you know they have to use more authentic measures than what they're doing in class.
Yes,
how
Bobby,
they,
for
what the
going to the
teachers.
hour.
I have a question.
Yes.
I
you.
raised my hand
You.
too. Why can't they
What a
just go
tool.
back to whatever was working before Common Core with just bring back those textbooks?
$360 million.
How about for textbooks?
When there's
No,
money,
what I'm
when there's
saying-
money involved, there are always
Ditch it,
what do
go
they
back to
call
what
them?
you had.
There's conflicting interest.
Ask
How much
Bobby
does the
about-
textbook
Patty,
cost?
ask
You can
Bobby
do
for
them
going to-
digitally. Just bring those back. Bring back the old textbooks. The ones you just got rid of how many years ago?
No.
5-6 years ago.
Okay, the publishers still have them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they would have new textbooks. But let's go back to another.
Go back
now,
to the old ones.
Jeanette, who, what are we doing? 5-2? Okay.
Yeah.
5-2.
Who? Let's ask one more question because you got a segment you wanted to do, and who is the biggest advocate right now? We don't get political on the show, but is
Name
Cuomo
names.
behind this? Is he big for it, and has he stepped it down a bit since this started? Or
Four.
So
you
let's-
met with Cuomo once? Did you meet with him?
I spoke with him.
You spoke
Yeah.
with him on the phone?
Yep.
All right.
Let's just say that
He's not too bright, is he?
What did I say?
We don't
We're not
get
getting
political.
I wasn't
here.
political. It was a statement. He's not too bright.
A statement of opinion.
he's a political machine.
Yeah,
He
right.
really is.
And that's why this whole thing
And
started.
it is about politics,
Yep.
and it's about funding.
Sure.
It's about campaign financing.
Mm-hmm.
A big piece of it is campaign financing. So you'll have people like Flanagan. So Cuomo, we fight against. We fight against Flanagan.
Who's
Those are two-
Flanagan?
John Flanagan. He's the head of the Senate in New York.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So-
I'm sorry.
I mean,
Flanagan.
really?
I should know that, I guess. I'm
Isn't
sorry.
that the old boss song?
Did you know that?
Oh, it is.
I didn't know.
But,
Okay.
but
Let her finish.
she's an intelligent person, and she's fighting with the absolute stupidest people, which are your legislators and all. With some exceptions.
That's how
Well,
politics is.
you
They're
know
not
what
the
it is?
stupidest. They're
No, they're
the
dumb.
political-
But they're also very dumb. A lot of them are lawyers, and
But
let's
to
be
get
honest,
to
lawyers aren't the best
something done on a
educated people.
grassroots level is
Well,
so time consuming.
yeah.
No, but you have a
It is.
master's
It
degree,
is.
right?
And-
I have a master's degree. I consider myself a lot smarter than politicians.
But let me
You may
just
be,
tell
brother.
let me just tell you what the problem is. We're up against billions of dollars. Sure.
Yes.
So it's a David and Goliath. It's,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's no matter how far we get, and even if people fundamentally agree with us that are in power, The problem is their money comes from the charter industry people. I mean, you're talking about the people that support the charter schools are the Waltons, are the Koch brothers,
Right.
Right,
are
they
Bill
wanna suck the
Gates,
money after
are
the public
so these are
education.
people that are behind all of this, and they are the most powerful
Big
and
donors,
wealthy
big
people
donors,
in the
yes.
entire world.
So
Sons
those,
of
who,
bitches.
those the policymakers
Yeah.
are going to be hesitant, obviously, to do anything to
Upset their donors.
upset their
Everybody-
donors.
That's right.
Everybody's in
So
bed with
what? So
everybody
then
else.
They
it,
get the
it comes
contract.
down. That's why it comes down to numbers. That's why the opt-out movement's been so crucial in all of this. Because if we can show we are a large enough voting bloc, as much as they need to rely on those funding dollars, they also need numbers of votes.
Right, right.
So if we can outnumber the dollars as far as influence, that's the only way. That and we have been fairly successful. We
Sounds
have
like
gotten
it.
very political and have had to. Really get involved in local politics, state politics.
You go up to
even,
Albany at all? Have you
Yes,
gone? Yeah.
yes.
I know a lot more about
It's a
school
hike.
curriculum than I did.
I know
half an
because
hour ago. I didn't
know she goes to
anything.
Albany because they got to take in the garbage pails.
We got a request, so I'm just going to do it real quick once.
Common Core is a total disaster. Okay? Total disaster.
Thank you, Mr.
Total
President.
disaster.
So
Bring
let's
back the old
let's
textbooks.
we want to get to a
That
few
is
more segments.
hysterical.
Janet, you can sit here and chime in if you want, but just let me read one thing. Jeanette has been named on the Long Island Press Top 50 Power List in 2014, 15, and 16, and received Woman of Distinction, Woman Trailblazer Award, and Belmore Merrick Central High School Friend of Education. Citizen of the Year in Belmore, very good.
Big name, and we got her
And that
exclusive.
earned her a spot
And
on
I-
Laughter Saves
Can I ask you
Lives.
one more question?
It's all been worth it
I
if
want
I
to get
can
the
be
other
here.
segments.
Well, okay,
Pat,
so one
Pat got
more
voted
question.
best calzone in
Wanna get
Babylon.
In terms of standardized testing, like the SATs
Yep.
and everything, because I didn't do well on
I
my SATs,
can't.
but I did great in college.
I lost
Right.
it.
On my GMATs, I didn't do well, but I graduated
Yep.
with my MBA with honors.
Out on the show.
What are the percentages of people that don't do well on the tests that aren't good test takers, but do have great success
Very
in college?
high,
Like
very
I did?
high, which is why many colleges are now dropping the SAT as a requirement to get in.
That's true.
Interesting.
Many.
That is true.
Really? Really?
Yep.
Yep,
Interesting.
that is true. All right, let's
There,
let's
yep.
Because
clap up for
I have a
Jeanette
degree in history with an Asia minor.
with an Asian.
Oh, God.
That's a bad one. I know, that's a bad one.
Asia
Come on, let's
minor.
Come
hear
on,
it
that's bad.
for Jeanette. Jeanette.
Thanks,
Don't
Jeanette.
go anywhere, Jeanette.
All right.
I'm going to read one. You got a segment. You want to do the royal wedding thing quick?
I could bang out
How
something
long
real
is that?
quick.
Is that quick?
2 seconds.
Because Pat spent a lot of time doing some other crap over here.
Do you need it? Let's Pat do it.
No.
Yeah, nobody cares about the royal wedding.
No one cares
unless-
about it. We
All
did
right,
it.
Pat, you go first.
Nobody cares about Patty G either.
All right.
That's mean.
Today, our educational segment tonight, folks, is on what are the differences between a highway, a freeway, a superway, a turnpike. We use these terms interchangeably, but nobody knows what the difference is, if any.
What's a superway?
Well, in
well,
Long
hold
Island,
on a second.
in Long Island, we know one thing.
What?
Do not take a truck on the parkways. It's
got
happened
that.
twice,
Right.
right, in the last few months.
Any
Why do-
parkway, no trucks.
Why do we park on the highway and drive in the driveway? Well, anyway.
Go ahead.
Why is
Okay,
it
now
your feet
these.
smell
Now
and your
listen.
nose runs?
Now these. What does Geronimo say when he jumps off a cliff? We can go on all night.
Me.
Anyway, all right. Now these are the standardized definitions
pretty
from
funny.
the.
Let the guy talk. He's got 30 seconds.
These are some standardized definitions. Now they've all overlapped now as modern society has sprung up. But here's the thing. Now your basic is a highway.
Right.
A highway is a major public road that connects any 2 points.
Pat left. Pat's in the
flushing the
bathroom.
toilet.
He's peeing with his microphone on.
The door's open.
I flushed it. I did it on purpose.
Door's wide open
Well,
here.
you learned something already? Learn something.
Let the man talk. Go ahead. Next. What do you
Okay.
It's because of people like you that Jeanette's got to fight against stuff like that.
Opt out on him.
Well, no, this is an interesting thing.
Okay. No,
As he says with laughter.
all right. Now, a highway is a major road that connects any 2 points between towns or cities.
Okay.
It normally has a state or a city route number.
Okay.
It could be 2 or 4 lanes divided or not. It can have lights and intersections. Think the Sunrise Highway.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a perfect
yeah. example.
example.
Yeah.
Now, a freeway, expressway, a thruway, a superhighway, they're all used interchangeably.
Hurry up before he does
It's
something
a,
else.
it's a road with high-speed traffic, few or no intersections.
Like in Los Angeles, they
Right.
have the
That's-
freeway.
How
That's
come we
where
have
the-
no freeways here?
No, that's the original way a freeway came to be.
Original.
Not because it wasn't a toll, it's because there was no intersection.
But what about Sunrise Highway? That's both. In some places,
Well, that's
there's
what I'm
lights,
saying.
and the other
Right, that's
it's
what I'm
highway,
saying.
yeah.
A lot of times a highway can meld into different
both.
things.
Okay, all right, continue. This is good.
Now, a parkway is a highly decorated highway, landscaped, can possibly have lights,
And connects the parks.
with limited access to trucks, buses, and heavy equipment.
Right, and on Long Island they connect all the parks, Heckscher Park, Sacramento Park.
How many more?
Heckscher is the reason
I- no,
we don't. You can't take trucks on parkways.
Yes.
Why?
That's
No,
true.
Robert Moses.
Excuse me,
Now-
Robert
now we got
Moses.
just a
Robert
couple
Moses.
authorities.
I'm
His middle
sorry.
name was
Now, a
Hexter.
Robert
causeway
Heckscher
Causeway.
Moses.
is a raised road over rough, unsafe terrain or water.
Very
That's
nice.
what a causeway is.
Keep going.
Now,
No, get into it. Just
now relax. Now, a road is any tract of land that connects 2 points.
Right.
A street is a public road with houses or buildings on one or both sides.
Very nice.
Okay. An avenue is the same thing as a street.
That
but
one
it
I
runs
could have.
perpendicular.
That one I could have figured out. The
Yeah.
street.
No. But it runs perpendicular.
Okay.
Now, a boulevard is a wide street or avenue, but has a divider in the middle. But houses on both sides. All right.
And the Boulevard of Broken Dreams has my
Now,
resume
now,
on
wait a
it.
minute. Now,
Bullshit Boulevard.
now, we'll finish with this.
Please.
A
This is
court,
Interesting.
Thank
a
God.
court is a very short street that ends in a cul-de-sac.
That's correct.
Right.
All a cul-de-sac is a road that's closed on one end. So any dead end is a
Mm.
cul-de-sac.
I'll show you a
And what do
cul-de-sac,
and what do
buddy.
you call an impotent mountain climber?
What?
John
Dry sack
LaRocchia.
on the rocks.
You know, Patty, we just lost all 6 viewers.
All right.
We're down to
Before
8.
Stevie chimes in, I just wanted to read this story very.
That was
important.
interesting. I like that.
That was very
Patty.
good, Patty. That was your best.
That was
yet.
interesting.
That's not saying much.
No, no, no.
I thought you said the card tricks.
Dr.
were the
Dre, you know the rapper Dr. Dre?
No.
Yes, he's a
Yeah.
producer.
Rapper
Yeah.
out of-
Yeah.
No idea.
whose
what
real
that
name is Andre Young, objected to the trademark application of a doctor and media personality whose nickname is spelled differently but sounds the same as the music producer. So he had a problem with this and he wanted the guy to stop using the name because it sounded like his made-up name. Dr. Dreyon Birch, who has written books such as 20 Things You May Not Know About the Vagina, was his most popular book.
Whoa.
Pat,
Oh, come on.
Pat doesn't know
What
any
could
of
there
them.
not be to know about the vagina?
knows
Time for me to
none
leave.
of them.
Maybe we should go to commercial.
No. We're gonna let Jeanette chime in on this one.
Yeah, I'm sure she wants to comment on that.
I didn't know there were 20 things to know about a vagina. Much
I
less 20 I don't know.
guarantee you, none of your
You know, our
famous
ratings
interviews-
just went up. We were back to 8.
Start with 5 of them.
We just went through the roof.
I got another story, but do you want to comment on that one? No.
But what are the 20 things
On-
that we
on
don't
the
know
book.
about the vagina? Do you
That's
have
not
the
the
list?
point. No, I don't want the
Oh.
list. I wanted one gem out of that. And we
Pervert.
got it.
Okay.
Can you, anything on the royal wedding you want to close with? The royal wedding's over.
The royal wedding is over.
I watched
and,
a little bit of
And
it.
here in this group, and I can speak for most of us, we don't care. Okay? We didn't care
Well, I
before.
did watch a little
We
bit.
don't
I did.
care.
I'm
That's because
royalty.
nothing else was on. Let's face
Yeah, I
it.
did watch a little
I
bit.
happen to think she's a beautiful woman.
She gave up
Meghan
an acting
Markle.
career for this.
Listen, she wasn't the best actor, and she was married to a producer, and I saw that, and I go, that's why she got that part.
Did
That's
you
why
watch
she
it?
got those.
Did you watch the show?
Weinstein?
Meghan Markle. She was married to a producer.
Oh, was she?
And I saw her acting. Listen,
what I should
guys
do.
know
I'm
I
a
was
SAG
knighted by
actor.
the Queen,
I
right?
can act my not fake hair off. All right. So will somebody book me on something?
My
and
Tony Blair
if I
impression.
married a producer, I'd get parts like Meghan Markle did.
Oh, wait a minute.
We
That
gotta-
ain't no bargain being a princess. Your life is no longer
You're
your
right,
own.
but she
Okay,
Thank
Diana,
God.
Princess
she-
Di, may she rest in peace, went
Princess
through
Di,
hell.
rest in peace. She didn't like it.
That ain't your life anymore.
This Meghan Markle, was an actress. I'm guessing it's right up her alley.
But I was knighted 10
Yeah.
years ago for my Tony Blair impression by the Queen. You actually, I don't make you call me Sir John, but I'm technically a sir. And I was a knight impressionist of the royal arts.
Would you let him finish this segment he's worked so hard on?
I was.
I beg your pardon, I'm royalty.
Listen, I was knighted by a queen as well.
And Jeanette
Richard Simmons.
lives next door to me, so she must live in a palace.
All right, the father didn't show up. Almost 30 million viewers in the U.S. watched it. 18 million in the U.K., which is probably the whole population. There were 600 guests there.
That is the whole-
That's
That's at the first part. Oh, at the wedding or
at the wedding
part?
itself. 600
right.
guests.
How many people went to the reception?
2 million.
200.
2 million.
No, 2
I don't
million.
know.
They ran out of
200
food.
at that first. 200 were only invited to that
the
private
first one.
Did
Not
they,
the
did they have
first one.
pasta and peas there?
Did they get the
They did.
Viennese table or did they cheap out?
They got
Homemade
that.
shallot.
I hate when
They
you
got
go to
fish and
weddings.
chips. They got fish and chips.
What about dessert?
Dessert was I think
They do chicken
McDonald's croissants.
By the way, I don't write the check.
$45 million cost in total.
That's amazing.
That's
Who
what
paid
it
for
totally
that?
cost.
Who do you think?
Donald Trump?
I
Donald
don't
Nobody
write the
got to
check
opt
till
out
I
of
get
that
to the
one.
wedding. I don't write the check till I get to the wedding.
Jeanette, you want to say anything about the wedding? Did you watch it at all?
I did watch it.
If you
The
go
whole
on
thing?
Twitter,
Yep.
Did you
Let's
like
get
it?
a, let's
Yeah.
get a woman's perspective on the wedding. What did you think of it?
John? Oh,
sorry.
I thought it was great, and I think it's I think it's bringing things together that
It's better than watching a lot of the other crap that's out there.
Yes.
Well, there's so much
still got that
criticism
big-
about this isn't this wasn't the way it's supposed to be at England, and all. I think it's great.
yes, I understand.
I bring
so,
two checks to the wedding.
What's the word? Regal,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
I
lot
think
more
she's bringing a breath of fresh air into the whole thing.
And I've heard him interviewed. He's they're very down to earth
Yep,
guy, you
yep,
know. And
yep.
you
Let me
can
just
tell
wrap
this
up
is-
with this point.
This
I
is
don't,
his mom.
I
Yeah.
don't write the check, or sometimes I bring two checks to the wedding. If they don't have a Viennese table, I take $50 off the gift. So if you think you're being cute by skimping on the Viennese, don't do it.
And
Or
he's-
I'm gonna
and
give you
he's
$50.
Well,
royalty.
out of here.
If you want to find them, they'll be in a 2-bedroom cottage
And he's royalty.
at wherever they stay. What's that, Buckingham
I'm
Palace
Italian
or something
royalty.
like that?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching tonight. Let's hear it for our guest, Jeanette.
Thanks,
Newman.
Jeanette. Keep up the good
Jeanette.
fight,
We're
Jeanette.
going to Massapequa
God bless our
Diner.
troops. Memorial Day, always
Memorial Day.
show.
Yes. Good night, everybody. That was awesome.
Hands,
That was great.
popcorn and peanuts,
By the way,
Good job,
the
working
bags not real wedding are
stands,
selling on
pink cotton candy, love on a stick. Was chasing the beer that circled the lips.